Good morning, 7th grade ELT. Today in ELT, you're doing a bunch of different operations with rational numbers. Today can be tricky. It's honestly, I think, the hardest thing you have to deal with in 7th grade math, which is why we need to practice to get better. So, starting with number 6. Remember, when I see minus a negative, I rewrite it as plus a positive. So now I just have 2 plus 1 and 5/10. I'm just going to write it vertically. I think it's easier. And then I know this is 2 wholes, this is 1 wholes. And when I add, I line up my whole numbers, I line up my decimal, etc. So when I add this, I get 3 and 5/10 as my sum. Looking at number 7, I have negative 7/10 and a negative 1 and 7/10. So I kind of think about money. This is like I owe 70 cents and I owe $1.70. So how much do I owe total? Oh, I'm just going to add them together. And then I know my answer is going to be negative because I'm only adding negatives. And I get negative 2 and 4/10. When you get to fractions, like with number 12, I think it's a huge help to set my fractions up vertically. Another thing that can help you is to turn your mixed number into an improper fraction using the Texas popcorn method. So this becomes 12, 13, 14, 15 over 4. So I just multiplied 4 times 3 and added 3. Minus 10 over 7. Oh, so now the next thing I have to do is I notice the common denominators are not the same. So I have to give them the same common denominator. I know both 4 and 7 go into 28. 7 times 4 is 28. 10 times 4 is 40. And then, so this 10 over 7 became 40 over 28. This fraction, I do 4 times 7 and 15 times 7. Because 4 times 7 makes 28. And whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. And I get 105. So when my denominators are the same, I'm ready to go ahead and subtract. 105 minus 40. And I get 65 over 28. So this is your answer, but it is improper. So something else you could do, and I'm going to do it over here, would be to divide and turn it into a mixed number. So 28 goes into 65. I'm going to guess that it goes in once or twice. I'm going to multiply it. Oh, and I get 56. Okay, so it's going to go in 2 times. I'm going to subtract 56. And I get 9. So my final answer would be 2 and 9 over 28. And as you can see, my work is like getting pretty messy because I'm not using a separate sheet of paper. So to prevent your work from becoming messy, please use a separate piece of paper. After you do your fractions, you are then going to look at some division problems. Remember, guys, when you're dividing, they'll ask you to find the quotient. That's a division keyword. And when I'm dividing both negative, my answer is positive. If I have a positive and a negative, my answer is negative. So when we look at number 26, this is negative 4 and 8/10 divided by negative 6. So just remember, if there's a decimal in the dividend, you move it straight up and then forget about it. 6 goes into 48 8 times. Because these are both negatives, my answer would be a positive. And then the last page, or the second to last page, has you doing some other division problems like number 30. This would be 5 4/10 divided by -1/10. So I know that my answer is going to be negative because a positive divided by a negative is negative. I also know that I can't divide if I have a decimal in the divisor. So I move it behind the 1, and then if I move it once here, I have to move it once here. So this becomes 54 divided by -1, which we know is just -54. When you're dividing with fractions, we think of keep, change, flip. Before I do that though, I need to change any mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I do 5 times 1, which is 5, plus 3 is 8, so I get 8/5 divided by 7/10. And then when dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second fraction and multiply. So I'm going to rewrite it 8/5 times 10/7, and then we multiply straight across. I get 80/35. This is an improper fraction, so then I would go on to divide and turn it into a mixed number. The last thing you're doing for ELT today is you're finding the volume of rectangular prisms. So we remember from 6th grade, volume equals length times width times height. And for here, volume would equal length times width times height. So it would be 4 times 4 times 5. So 4 times 5 is 20, times 4 is 80. Volume equals 80. Don't leave it like this, so that's naked, inches cubed. So volume is always in cubed units. I'm multiplying 3 things together, 3 dimensions. So I have my little 3 right there. So you do the same thing for the rest. Volume equals length times width times height.